from each happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are, from memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried, and with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight, reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to the Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey. And we are back today with the 69th Disney feature-length film from March the 12th, 1964. That's right. We've made it to the year 1964. The 69th feature-length film is a film called A Tiger Walks. A Tiger Walks is based on the 1960 novel of the same name by Ian Niall. So they didn't wait very long, only 4 years after the book came out to make this into a movie. Mm-hmm. Multiple actors returned for this film, such as Brian Keith and Kevin Corcoran. And this is actually Kevin Corcoran, Moochie, his final credited Disney role. So of course he's going to go out saving an animal. But before we get too deep into our friend Moochie's final film and A Tiger Walks, would you like to give us a quick synopsis?
A sheriff must protect his town from an escaped circus tiger, and his daughter leads a crusade to save.
Yeah. Any thoughts about the film, or some facts or anything?
I had no idea what to expect. But watching it, I would like to know how, and I didn't look it up, but I would like to know how they did the filming where the fogginess was there, because it was like
sure.
And obviously we'll dive into that more in a minute. But it was a prominent problem in this movie, and I think we had asked each other, like, how did they make it that foggy? Mm-hmm. Like, did they use like fog machine? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And then
they also had a trained tiger.
Yeah, and bad people get what they deserve.
That's true.
Oh, and the tiger cubs in here are not really tiger cubs.
Well, we'll get there.
Yes, we'll get there.
All right. Would you like to go ahead and dive right in?
Sure.
All right. So, believe it or not, we see a tiger walking through the opening credits. Mm-hmm. We see an old-fashioned town and what looks like circus animal trucks coming into the town. One of the trucks has a flat tire, so it has to pull into the town. The rest of the other trucks continue on, except for the flat tiger truck, which of course is the tiger truck, because this movie is not called anything else. So the tiger truck has to stop, and it garners a lot of attention from the townsfolk, mm-hmm. Including the sheriff's daughter. The sheriff is played by Brian Keith, obviously the dad from Parent Trap, and a couple other films that we've watched so far. So the sheriff's daughter is very interested in these tigers. The truck driver and his assistant are the only two people that stay behind from the circus. They're upset. They go to grab a drink while they wait. The truck driver ends up getting drunk and aggressive. This is where we see Kevin Corcoran, Moochie, again, in his last role. He's definitely grown up. He's definitely older. Mm-hmm. Obviously we all grow up, but either way, the drunk tiger driver decides that he's gonna like open up the back of the truck and show all the kids the tigers, mm-hmm. and like kind of like egg them on, like he's being like really cruel to the cage animals. Anything you want to say about that?
He basically is a blundering mess. He's mean to everybody. He tried to start a fight in the bar and got kicked out of the bar. Mm-hmm. And that's when he I guess decided to show off and antagonize the tigers and basically was poking it with a stick. And the other guy that was like the trainer of the tiger obviously cares about the animals he's taking care of, and he's like trying to get him not to do it. But I mean, obviously, this guy is just he makes his own rules, I guess.
Yeah. And one of those rules that he makes himself, he idiotically, like while tempting the tiger, he like opens the cage to poke it with a stick.
Yes, and then gets distracted, and you'll never guess what happens.
That's right. The angry full grown tiger escapes, which causes the kids to have to like run away. The sheriff's daughter, whose name is Julie, Corcoran's character, they all like they have to run away, but end up getting trapped by the tiger. The drunk owner tries to shoot the tiger, but it hops the fence to get away. None of the kids are hurt, but Julie like falls and cuts her arm from like while running away. So everybody starts to like blame the tiger for her getting hurt.
Yeah.
And they call her father the sheriff. Is that correct? Did I get everything good there?
Yeah, and her father was like in an important meeting because it's about to be election time.
Re-election time, yep.
And they're asking him like the plans of the election coming up, and he's obviously busy with this, but they decided obviously it was important to interrupt him and tell him about the daughter without knowing all the facts. But
it's true.
Yeah.
But at this point, it is admitted that there is a tiger loose in the town.
Yeah.
The townsfolk called the newspapers, but the newspapers, don't believe them.
Yeah. It seems like there's one guy in particular in the town that may have like called Wolf a lot, trying to call and get news stories in. So he's not really taken as a credible person. And I guess that could serve as a lesson of don't call Wolf, because if something happens, then nobody's going to believe you when the wolf shows up.
Then you can't call Tiger. Whatever.
Anyway.
So the sheriff gets back to the town. They assemble to try to find the animal. All of this like buzz is getting like a lot of attention to the inn. So the innkeeper is so excited that she's going to get a bunch of money. She's actually whistling Zippity Doodah, which is a throwback.
She was, I feel like, in one of the other movies too.
I didn't write it down, but probably. But she's singing Zippity Doodah, so she's straight up like pulling that reference back from the early movies, other movies that we watched. Julie is very adamant about not harming the tiger. She does not want to harm the tiger. This is where come night while they're trying to find the tiger, and it's so foggy. A lot of this film is it's like the foggiest. They make it very hard to see, obviously. And then while they're looking in the fog and they can't see anything because it's ridiculous, one of the search party like trips over a body, which was like a casualty of the tiger. It was the drunk truck driver.
Yeah, that basically antagonized all the animals and everybody else.
He revenged him.
Yeah.
But that doesn't look good for the tiger because they don't know.
But the trainer is trying to tell him.
Not quite yet, but yeah.
Well, in the beginning, he's trying to tell them, like, I've trained the tiger. I know the tiger. And sadly enough, interesting fact, the actor that played him was Indian born and was in his 30s and in good health. And he actually died in December before this movie was released in March. Yeah, so this was his last movie. So I thought that was really sad because he was a good part of it.
For sure. And he was like a legend too.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Bless you. Don't ever say I didn't say it.
Thank you. Excuse me, sorry. So they find the dead body, which causes a bunch of the search party to quit.
Yeah.
And at this point, the newspaper, like the news people, are coming in droves. This is when they find that the handler guy is safe and unharmed. And then the sheriff asks him for tips of catching the tiger, but he pleads to not kill the tiger. He knows the tiger's not doing anything to harm The guy, the other guy, like tempted his own fate. Um, Tom, which is Moochie and Julie, they end up feeding the tigers like it's like a bunch of like cubs. Go ahead, talk about the tiger cubs.
Well, I thought I took it in my notes, but I guess I didn't really write it down, or it didn't get saved. Or maybe I just read it, but I believe they were mountain lion cubs, possibly. They weren't tiger cubs, but they were spotted. They're not tiger cubs. So I thought that was interesting. Like they were able to actually film with 2 adult tigers and then these baby cubs of another kind, and the tigers didn't attack them. I thought that was interesting.
So
like most males usually try to kill cubs and stuff that aren't theirs in particular. So I would imagine they'd do so of another species. But
so at this point, the governor is trying to get involved. He's trying to alert the National Guard, but the sheriff doesn't want to cause any more panic.
But it's also re-election time for him.
Yep. So they want to use this as like an incident, as like a publicity stunt.
Yeah.
For re-election. Julie is again adamant about saving the tiger. But at this point, we cut back to the tiger, and the tiger is like alarming farm animals. The farmer wants to go out and see why his animals are like being alarmed, like what's going on, and to calm the cows down.
Yeah,
he thinks it's just a skunk, but at the same time, the farmer's wife hears that like there's a tiger on the news.
Yeah, while he's sitting in the barn milking the cow.
So he ends up coming face to face with the tiger. But
not yet. The tiger was behind him up in the top of the barn, and he had no idea that the tiger was there. And then his wife starts to yell, and he's like, "Oh, what?" She's like, "Come here right now." And then that's when she's told him about the tiger. And she's like, "If you go back out there, go out there with your gun." So then he goes back out with a gun. But lo and behold, the tiger was in there with him the whole time.
Yep. So he ends up coming face to face with the tiger, but the tiger flees before it could get shot. And then it cuts to like the next day, and the newspaper.
I don't even know if he would have been able to see it though, with how foggy it was.
Yeah, it's the whole film is so foggy. The newspaper people are trying to get like Julie to talk about it for their case, but again, she keeps like sticking up for the Save the Tiger idea. Like she is all about saving the tigers.
Yeah, and then she kind of like makes some statements that I guess in a way she kind of twisted what her dad said with his morals about it, and tried to like reinforce her point with the tiger, and that it's not his fault and he's just misunderstood.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, this is not going to look good for
me." So basically, this is how I wrote it down, how I interpreted it. She mentions on live TV that she wishes that she had enough money to buy and save the tigers, and she says that the sheriff agrees with her, which alerts the governor, and he then gets the National Guard involved because
he declares a state of emergency. So I guess at that point he overrides the sheriff.
Yeah, and because of it being the sheriff, like you said, is like, "Why did you say that?"
And the
which upsets the daughter.
Was trying to say, "No, we need to wait because it's very, very foggy, and we don't want to chase this tiger further up into the mountains where we're not going to be able to find him." So, I mean, he did have some valid points of what he was trying to do before his daughter ever said anything, and the governor was trying to undermine him, but.
The underminer.
Needless to say, I guess the sheriff actually knew what he was talking
about. True. So at this point, the farmer is trying to like get to the town to alert that he found the tiger, but he gets lost in the fog, so he gets out of his truck.
Yeah.
At this point, the National Guard arrives. They have to relieve the sheriff of his duties, like we said. And that they say that they're coming for the tiger's head, because if they're going to do this much work, they are going to get a trophy out of it, basically.
Yeah.
So they're coming for the tiger's head. Um, Sheriff is adamant about calling it off, whatever. Um,
Because he doesn't want someone to get hurt in the fog.
but which is a perfect segue because at that point, the National Guard's people are like on
Recon.
on alert or whatever, and they shoot into the fog thinking it's the tiger, but then they end up hitting and seriously injuring the farmer.
I know. I was like, no. And he left his dog in the car.
Yep. So
And I think he even told him to go get his dog. My dog's in my truck.
So they seriously injure the
I
farmer.
ran my truck off the road in the fog.
Which ends up at this point, the sheriff's like, "I told you so." He fights back with the National Guard, and then there's an ordinance that the troops have to wait for the fogs to lift before they can do anything.
Yeah.
It's at this point that we see the news broadcast of Julie's plea has like it's gained a bunch of following. So basically,
it has its own little jingle. And
the whole country is protesting. Yeah, Save the Tiger. They're singing the Save the Tiger song.
Yeah.
This whole jingle. Kids are sending money to the town, like hand over fist, to try to help Julie to buy the tiger. This stresses out the father, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
There's a picket line forming in front of the governor's house to save the tiger. And the
adults are just clueless. Like, how is this?
Yeah, so they basically like are trying to guilt the sheriff into going to the news to tell them to stop trying to save the animal, but he won't do it. Mm-hmm. They're already halfway to their goal to save the tiger. I don't even know what the goal is, but whatever. And then whatever. So then after all this stress, the sheriff comes outside. He sees that Julie is feeding the tiger cubs again, mm-hmm. Which causes them to get into an argument. And Julie like runs to her room. They end up having a heart-to-heart about like what's right and what's wrong, basically.
Yeah. And he's not really a man killer.
Mm-hmm.
He was just defending himself.
He's just like any parent would.
Exactly. And I think that actually struck some commonality between him and his daughter. Mm-hmm. Like at that point, I'm sure he was probably thinking, well, I mean, if something similar would have happened in my case, I would have taken care of my kids and family. So
he decides that he's going to try to acquire a tranquilizer gun, mm-hmm. to stun the tiger as opposed to killing the tiger. Mm-hmm. But I forgot, it's going to take so many days to get there or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know. He had to order it. But it's at this point that the fog is finally scheduled to lift. Mm-hmm. So and the governor shows up to town. So like it's all a go now. Like, hey, mm-hmm. the fanfare is here. The governor's here. The fog's going to lift. There's a chopper. The chopper sees sees the tiger. It's been spotted. Like it's go time. The military men show up to the location in droves, causing the tiger to run and hide. Mm-hmm. The sheriff again is pleading with the military to allow the trainer to at least like attempt to catch the tiger, mm-hmm. with the net, but the governor stops the plan due to the publicity and the money spent. So like it's like this big stressful thing going on right now. Like this tiger has been spotted and they can't save him. But it's at this point that the tranquilizer gun comes to the town.
Yeah.
So Julie and Tom try to like find ways to get it to the sheriff. They end up hitchhiking their way as close as they can to the area. But at this point, the military is shooting at the tiger. They're trying to blast it out of hiding.
Yeah, they're like not shooting regular guns. They're like throwing bombs,
yeah,
to like chase it out into the open, so that way they can, I guess, kill it
at
that
point.
Yeah. And then at that point, the sheriff had mentioned to the trainer that was trying to help him catch it with a net.
And Floricello. Sorry. Go ahead.
And his, I guess his deputy, that if they keep doing that, the tiger's going to go up in here and there's going to be an open clearing, and that's where I would go if I was being shot at. So we should go around the back, and then maybe I can help you catch him with the net. Because at that point, they hadn't got the thing yet, because who actually ended up bringing them the kids with the tranquilizer gun?
They like hitchhiked from the gas station in the back of the truck.
So did they just run it up there? I thought they jumped out of a car, but maybe I'm thinking of when they jumped back in the car after she was told to get back in the car.
So they end up getting the tranquilizer to the sheriff, and the tiger like breaks through the military's perimeter,
Mm-hmm.
and the sheriff is able to tranquilize the tiger long enough to be caught in the net. But the sheriff gets hurt in the attack.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I covered that good?
Yep.
So the sheriff ends up getting hurt, much like his daughter did earlier in the film. But the sheriff is able to stop the military from shooting the tiger because the state of emergency is over, and the newscasters get involved to make the governor has to speak on this, even though he didn't get what he wanted. And then it cuts to the next scene, which is where we see that the tiger and its family are safe wandering at the zoo, and they unveil a plaque that states donated by the Children of America through the Save the Tiger campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
So the kids saved the tiger. And then at this point, we learn that the sheriff has also been reelected, and they sing the Save the Tiger song, and that's the end of the film.
So I did look it up to verify. I guess technically I was correct. The tiger cubs in this movie are not tiger cubs. They are cougar cubs, which I guess is another term for mountain lion.
Makes sense.
I just wanted to make sure I was telling you the right thing.
So happily ever after, the tigers are safe. The sheriff is reelected. They sing the song one more time, and that's the end. Any thoughts or ratings and stuff about this lovely talking tiger film?
I was trying to make sure there wasn't anything else I missed, because I know I put this in my notes. I just don't know why it wasn't in my notes. Yeah, there was, I don't know, it was, like you said, some familiar faces with an interesting story. It had a good plot behind it.
It just wasn't very exciting.
No.
It was as dense as the fog is.
Yeah, and I think obviously the fog played a point in it, but at the same time, I think as foggy as it was, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was because it was filmed in the 60s with the fog. It was kind of a lot where you couldn't really see what was going on, which I guess is what they were going for, but not so much watching it, I guess. I don't know.
And it's another one of those films where it's just like, the end.
Yeah, it just...
Yeah.
Up the hill, and bam! You don't even go down the hill, and it's just done.
But what did you rate this?
So I gave it a 5 out of 10. IMDb gave it a 6.2 out of 10.
So, your dear friend Moochie, does he walk that tiger onto Once Upon a Star for the last time? Think of all the films that Moochie's been in.
I know. He was definitely in some other ones that I liked better. He did not catch this onto my list because I feel like that was pretty much what he was known for, was catching animals in these movies.
So then what is your list Upon a Star?
But this did not make my list. I'm sorry. So my list is 101 Dalmatians, The Parent Trap, Sleeping Beauty, Dumbo, Lady and the Tramp, The Three Caballeros, Moon Pilot, The Shaggy Dog, Peter Pan, and Alice in Wonderland.
So this also does not make mine. Poor Moochie. He had quite the run. Not quite as long as our other friend there, Tommy Kirk, who's still going. But my list Upon a Star is 101 Dalmatians, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, Babes in Toyland. What a great movie that was. Pinocchio, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Sleeping Beauty, Lady and the Tramp, our friend Moochie in Swiss Family Robinson coming in at number 10.
How many movies up here do you have with Tommy Kirk in them?
With Tommy Kirk in them?
Yeah,
One,
I only
two,
have one.
two. Not done yet, though. All right. So thank you for watching.
Yep.
I hope that this ending doesn't come as abrupt as this film ending did. But where are we? So we would love to hear from you. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We have an email, deepdivingthemagicpod@gmail.com. And our next film is number 70. We've made it to number 70.
70 films.
That is almost as fresh as these brand new sweatshirts we're wearing right now. But there's brand new apparel we have going on right now that says Deep Diving the Magic Pod. But so we made it to number 70, March 25th of 1964. It is the return of what, like we said, our friend Tommy Kirk. No more Kevin Corcoran, but Tommy Kirk and Annette Funicello. Not Annette to Catch a Tiger, but Annette Funicello.
And not a net full of jello.
We were just there.
I know.
We got a standing ovation. All right, whatever. Before we get sidetracked. So film number 70 from March 25th, 1964. Like we said, Tommy Kirk and Annette Funicello. And it is a film called The Misadventures of Merlin Jones.
Have you heard of it?
Deep Diving the Magic Pod at gmail.com.
Thanks for deep diving the magic.
Bye.
Bye.